these past couple of weeks have been pretty exciting politically, especially regarding the illegal immigration situation. Now, I've noticed with this discussion has come a lot of emotional responses, which is understandable. It's a pretty big deal regarding families being separated from their children. So I understand the emotional response, but I believe it would be important for us to evaluate the facts before we discuss the morality of it all. I believe this is important because if we do not have an accurate understanding of the facts, we won't have an accurate understanding of the morality of the situation. If your starting point is skewed, your conclusion's not going to be much better. So if we're going to discuss the morality of what was taking place at our border, then we need to have accurate facts so that we can have a fair discussion on the morality of those facts. Now, with regards to the facts, I see three issues really that we need to keep in mind. First of all is the accuracy of those facts. I've seen, maybe you've seen it as well, where people have been criticizing those who are nitpicking the term cage. Then they may have something along the lines of, if you were truly a moral person, you wouldn't nitpick the word cage, but you would rather be morally outraged at the treatment of these children. But the nitpicking of the word cage is pretty important, actually. If you actually honestly look at the term cage, that's not accurate. These children are going into pens or holding facilities, not cages. So yeah, if a child were being stuck in a cage, that would be morally outrageous. But when we step back and look, hold on, wait a minute, these children aren't being stuck in cages, they're being stuck in holding facilities. That's not a cage. That's more understandable than a cage. Can we at least agree on that? Also, to illustrate this point, if we were to look at the gun control discussion, you might think back to the article, I believe it was posted by USA Today, where they talked about possible modifications for an AR-15, and they listed a chainsaw bayonet as one of those possible modifications. It was absolutely ludicrous, because it's not true. Or maybe you saw the one senator who was talking about fully semi-automatic assault-styled rifles that were gas-assisted. Again, that makes no sense. If you actually know what you're talking about regarding guns, there is no such thing. So for you to have such a flawed starting point, such a skewed, misinformed, incorrect knowledge of these facts, then that's going to affect how you morally interpret them. It's going to affect how you discuss this morally. So we need to accurately look at the facts before we can discuss the morality of the situation. There's also the precision of terms matters. So secondly, we have the omission of facts. So we need our facts to be accurate, but also we shouldn't be omitting important facts just so that we can push a certain narrative. For example, Obama placed children in these same types of holding facilities. In fact, pictures from 2014 were being circulated around trying to stir up outrage against Trump. So, again, we need to accurately look at these facts, and we need to be honest with these facts. So yes, Obama put children in these same types of holding facilities. Bringing this point up is not an argument. It's not automatically an argument of making two wrongs. It's not saying the past administration has done it this way, therefore it's okay to continue doing it this way. That's not what this argument is bringing up. Bringing up this fact, however, does bring up the counterpoint. Why the sudden outrage? Yes, there was some minor outrage when Obama did this kind of stuff, but it was not nearly on the level that we're seeing today. So why is that? Could it possibly be that the left are not truly concerned about children being put in these facilities children being separated from their parents, but rather their outrage is more based upon who's president? Are they getting outraged simply because Trump is president? That's the kind of question bringing up this fact brings. Secondly, there was no policy in place that explicitly stated children must be separated from their parents. I've seen several people wrongly stating that this exact reason for the children being separated from their parents is because Trump was wanting to make a deterrent to keep other people from coming to our country. But that's not entirely accurate. You're omitting a few facts here. What's actually taking place was with how the zero tolerance policy was being enforced. You see, with the zero tolerance policy, it didn't matter if you had children, if you were single, it didn't matter what. If you were illegally crossing our border, you were going to be criminally charged. And so if an adult is criminally charged, they are then put into federal custody. So if somebody is criminally charged and they are put into federal custody and they happen to have children with them, the children would then be considered unaccompanied because they don't have any adults supervising them. They don't have any adults with them. And because these children are now unaccompanied, they would then have to be put into these types of holding facilities. It was just a matter of order of events taking place. Because X happened, Y had to happen. And if you don't believe me, you can look at 8 U.S. Code 1325 and 8 U.S. Code 1232, which clearly details what happens when somebody is criminally charged for crossing our border, and then it details what happens with children who are unaccompanied and they cross our border. Now we see the same type of separation take place in America to American citizens. If a parent commits a crime and they go to prison, well, they are separated from their children. The children do not join them in prison. If there's an abuseful situation there in the family, and the parents have to be separated from the children are then put into the custody of some family member, or they're put into the foster care system. And again, presenting these facts is not necessarily a justification of the children being separated from their parents. It raises the question, why the outrage for this specific situation? If we have similar things taking place already in our country, if we have similar things that were taking place in previous administrations, why the sudden outrage? The only logical conclusion is that people are mad because Trump is in power, rather than Obama. And another fact to bring up is the left celebrates divorce, which separates children from parents. Why are they celebrating something which separates children from parents, but outraged over this specific issue, which separates children from parents? Again, why? And secondly, we need to realize that on Wednesday, June 20th, President Trump signed an executive order ending the separation of these families. And as well, Ted Cruz has introduced a bill as a congressional solution to this issue. So we have alternatives being established to keep illegally immigrating families together. We have alternatives being offered. And Ted Cruz's bill specifically would improve the immigration process by hiring more judges, by expediting the process, and hopefully resolving the backlog. So we have these alternatives and these solutions being offered, but yet there's still outrage. Why? The argument now we see as opposition to these solutions is, well, the children shouldn't be held at all. The children mustn't be put in any kind of holding facilities at all. But if we were to do that, we would have to separate them from their families. So the only logical solution that I see, as Ben Shapiro has pointed out, the only logical solution that the left is calling for is a return to Obama's failing catch and release policies, which just encouraged more illegal immigrants to bring children with them so that they could try to get into our country. It was a failed process that was just a bad idea. And that seems to be the only logical solution that the left is trying to get towards. So, again, why are we still having outrage? You were outraged. The people were outraged the children were being separated from their families. They were outraged the children were being put in these holding facilities. Okay, well now the families can be kept together, but we're outraged that the children aren't being separated from their families. Is the outrage because Trump is president and not Obama? With facts being accurate and no omission of important facts, that brings me to number 3, intellectual honesty. I've noticed a trend of attacking first and then asking questions afterwards. A good demonstration of this would be the very poor journalist Jose Antonio Vargas, who he posted this fake picture of a Mexican boy behind cage bars. Right? And he said, Trump administration, this is on you. This kind of mistreatment is on you. And he posted this on Twitter for all of his followers to get emotionally outraged. And then when someone asked him for a source, he was like, I actually don't know where this picture came from. I can't promise that they're genuine. And so people began to investigate. And when it was found out this was a faked, staged picture at a protest, well, he defended it. He hasn't deleted the tweet yet. He defended it and said, well, this fits my narrative, essentially. That's intellectual dishonesty. That's not being 100% accurate with the facts. Another great example of this would be Time magazine. You could think of the cover of a little 2-year-old girl crying with President Trump standing right here. That little 2-year-old girl was taken in a picture that Time magazine claimed she was separated from her parents. But when people started to investigate, that was found to be false. The mother actually had kidnapped her daughter from the father, dared to trek the dangerous journey to crossing our border illegally to try to gain amnesty, and they were never once separated. So again, another example of people being intellectually dishonest with the information that they are presenting. I've also noticed the intellectual dishonesty in making illogical conclusions. Probably you have seen the pictures comparing US to Nazi Germany simply by the confiscation of rosaries. I've seen the tweet where you've got the picture of the rosaries right here. Like, these are rosaries that have been confiscated by people coming into our country illegally, and it's just like the Nazi concentration camps where Nazis confiscated the jewelry off of the Jews before they were put in the concentration camps. Completely ignoring all historical context, completely ignoring all other facts, and simply honing in on those 2 similarities. The similarity between the jewelry being taken and the similarity of the rosaries being confiscated. And by that one little thing right there, they are essentially saying we're on the same path as Nazi Germany and we need to wake up America. Now, I've seen the exact same illogical mistake made with the picture of Auschwitz on one side and the other picture of the tent cities on the and it's just like you're comparing housing arrangements, and based upon the similarity of housing arrangements, you're going to come to the conclusion that we're on the same path as Hitler. You're completely ignoring all historical context. You're completely ignoring all historical facts and all facts that are happening today. And you're just going to say, well, see, the similarity between the housing arrangements clearly were as bad as Hitler. That's literally the same logical progression as stating Hitler built roads. Our government builds roads. Therefore, our country is just as bad as Nazi Germany. It's apples to oranges. It makes absolutely no sense. Why are we being this intellectually dishonest and lazy with our arguments? It's ludicrous. These acts of intellectual dishonesty are how fake news and propaganda are created and pushed around. Once we determine the facts, and we are honest about the facts, so we need to be accurate with our facts, we must not be omitting any important facts, and then we need to be intellectually honest with how we present those facts. Once we do those three things, then we have cleared the groundway for an honest discussion on morality. And until we do that, we will never have a profitable discussion on morality. Politics do not have to be ugly. We can have civilized conversations, and we can disagree. But remember, disagreeing does not mean that we hate each other. Disagreeing does not mean that we don't have empathy or sympathy towards another individual. It could be because our facts are wrong that we disagree. And maybe our facts are correct, and we just disagree on the morality of the situation. That's fine. But remember, our facts need to be correct before we have the discussion on morality. I hope this video has been informational to you, and I hope this will help you with further discussions regarding this topic and other topics in the future. And before you go, I just want to remind you that our God is a holy God, and our God is a loving God. And our God has a holy love that wholly loves you. Thanks for watching. I hope you share this video with someone else, and that it would be an encouragement to you and other people, and that maybe, just maybe, if we correctly look at the facts and evaluate them fairly, we might find more common ground than we think. Have a great day.